How will your future husband identify himself to you? If you can't answer that question, it's going to be very hard to recognize the right man God wants you to marry. Therefore, if you're a Christian single woman who doesn't want to waste time on the wrong guy and you want to meet the right guy as soon as possible, here are 3 things you're going to want to look for. Number 1, your future husband will identify himself to you by checking all the biblical boxes and some of the personal boxes. Rochelle never thought her love story would begin in a hospital waiting room. Her niece was fighting a deadly disease. The air in the hospital waiting room smelled like disinfectant and burnt coffee. Rochelle had just finished praying when a man across the room looked up from a tattered paperback and gave a gentle smile. He was not what she imagined her future husband to look like. Plain shirt, scuffed boots, a quiet demeanor, no bold charm, no instant fireworks. But as the days passed in the hospital, they kept running into each other. One time in the elevator, another time in the cafeteria. And as she shared, he would remember details about her niece. He would ask how she's doing. And Rochelle became very impressed with this man's thoughtfulness and ability to listen and really care. His name was Aaron. As Rachel and Aaron got to know each other more, she realized they were totally compatible from a biblical perspective. However, Aaron did not have all the qualities Rachel wanted in a man. Although she was attracted to him, he was slightly shorter than her. Rochelle was a bit on the taller side as a woman, so she always wanted a man who was above 6 feet tall. However, something unexpected started to happen. Rochelle realized that more than any physical appearance or a man's height, what she cared most about in a partner was that he was a good listener. She realized through interacting with Aaron how much she valued this trait in a man. In the past, she would always gravitate towards the taller guys and the talkative guys. She really liked those expressive guys. And while Aaron wasn't astronomically shorter than her, he was a few inches shorter than her. And she realized, I would rather have a man, not the exact height I want, but who can listen to me and makes me feel known. So while Rochelle's story is unique to her, there are some underlying variables that are common in a lot of women's story. When you meet the man God has for you, it's going to feel a lot like real life and a lot less like a fairy tale. He should meet all the biblical requirements. And you may think, gosh, that seems like a lot. But really, when you study the scriptures, it's not that complicated. There's really 4 major requirements for a Christian to choose a spouse. Number 1, that person needs to be a Christian also. Number 2, that person needs to be bearing the fruits of the Spirit, because that's what a real Christian does. Otherwise, they're just saying they're a real Christian. Thirdly, that person needs to be able to fulfill the biblical role of a husband or wife. You can be a Christian who's bearing the fruits of the Spirit, but you may not be ready for that season of life of marriage. So, and fourthly, that person will want to marry you. So they need to be a Christian, bearing the fruits of the Spirit, fulfilling the role of a husband or wife, and they have a personal desire to want to marry you. So your future husband doesn't have to have the spiritual gift that you thought he would have. He doesn't have to have the hobbies and interests that you hoped he had. He doesn't have to look the way you expected him to look. Now, to be clear, he should have some of the things you desire. You should enjoy being around him. You should enjoy talking to him. You should be physically attracted to him. But no one is going to meet all of your expectations. In other words, God won't just answer your prayers. He will exceed them in ways you can't even imagine. But how will you know if you're just fooling yourself? How do you know that this is actually the man God wants you to proceed with, or it's just infatuation or you're mishearing God? What are some visible things you can look for? Number 2, your future husband will be showing evidence that he has the ability to fulfill the responsibility of a husband, before you give him the role of a husband. Aaron wasn't flashy about his faith. He didn't preach from a pulpit or post deep theological thoughts on Instagram, but Rochelle noticed he was consistent. He led a Bible study for at-risk teens. He visited his elderly neighbor every week to help with groceries and yard work. He lived with integrity. When Rochelle looked at Aaron's life, she realized he was ready for a wife. He didn't have to mature more. He didn't have to become a different person for it to work out. Aaron was already showing that he had the qualities to be a godly husband. All he needed was a woman. Rochelle realized she could simply step into his life and be the wife she had prepared herself to be. His life was ready to receive her. Being a husband is a big responsibility. And you don't just flip a switch and say, well, now I'm married, so now I'm ready for this responsibility. Rather, it's a lot like weight training. If you just got off the couch and you try to lift 250 pounds in bench press, it's probably not going to work. Rather, what you need to do is you need to start with 150 pounds, and then you work on that, and you work your way up to 175 pounds, and then you work your way up to 200 pounds, and so on and so forth before you're then able to lift this very heavy weight. So don't expect that the wedding bells are just going to cause the man to go from the bar to the pew, from the couch to the pulpit, or, from loving video games to leading a Bible study. He has to be working his way up the maturity ladder to get to the level where he's able to handle the responsibilities that come with being a husband. A great example of this is Ruth and Boaz. So when you look at the chapters, they're very divided up. Chapter 2, Ruth gets to witness evidence that Boaz is well ready to receive a wife before she even comes into the picture. So when she invites his pursuit in Ruth chapter 3, she already has evidence that he's ready to receive her. But how will you know if a man is ready to receive you specifically? Because you're definitely going to run into men who are biblically ready to be a husband, but that doesn't automatically mean they're ready to be your husband. So what's God going to show you to help you realize, hey, that's your future husband? And number 3, your future husband will capitalize on the chances that you give him to pursue you. It was actually Rochelle who took the first bold step. She asked, would you want to grab coffee sometime? Just the two of us? He didn't hesitate. I'd like that. I'd really like that, he said. That little moment was the beginning of something real. They started dancing, so to speak. He was leading, but she was actively following his lead. Both participated. They weren't perfect. Sometimes they stepped on each other's toes, so to speak. But over the weeks and months of dating, they communicated clearly and always became closer after miscommunications were worked through. After about a year of meeting in that waiting room hospital, they found themselves at that same hospital sitting on a bench outside. Rochelle's niece had gotten better, but unfortunately, Aaron's mother was still struggling and not doing well. So Rochelle was there to support Aaron as Aaron was there to support his mother. He then said to Rochelle as they sat on that bench, "You are the woman I want by my side for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" A small tear rolled down Rochelle's cheek. "Yes, of course," she answered. Just like Boaz responded to Ruth's invitation in a passionate and clear way, not a passive way, so too did Aaron respond in a very clear way once Rochelle gave him that opportunity. When God leads the right man into your life, he's going to be leading, he's going to be pursuing, but God is going to require you to somehow let this man know that you want him to pursue you. And when you do that, if he's really the man God has for you, he's going to respond positively. So how will God empower your future husband to identify himself to you? Well, it will happen in real life, not in some rom-com fantasy. Real life is much better because it combines hardships with blessings, which enrich the blessings in a much greater way than good without any trials. If you'd like more biblical content on how to meet the man God wants you to marry one day, you may really want to check out my newest book called Invite Him, 16 Rules from Ruth to help your future husband find you. I've been getting a lot of great feedback from the women who've read this book already, so I think it will benefit you. You can learn more about this book by clicking the link in the description of this video. I'm Mark from ApplyGodsWord.com. I'll see you next time. God bless.